Namaste guys, welcome back to UD's quickest movie reviews, and this is Udai. As always, we are back with some wonderful filmmakers and their works and our reviews on their work. Before any further ado, I really want you to hit the subscribe and the bell icon so that you can keep all updates on time. So let's start the show. Let's start our review with this inspirational quick movie, Trushti, A State of Mind. Trushti is an inspirational quick movie hosted on Being Productions, a YouTube channel. The quick movie starts with this woman who is trying to help this poor old lady on street. This woman calls this poor old lady, and in order to help her, she takes a package and hands it over to this old woman. Maybe it has some food or something, and the poor old woman with a very cute smile takes that package. She starts walking towards her home. It is then the lady observes that this poor old woman doesn't even have footwear and her legs are not in good shape. And that is when she starts feeling sorry for this poor lady, and she calls her again. She tells her that she still has a lot of things that she can have, in which she also have a pair of chappal or the footwear that she can have. With a very big smile, this old lady gives an answer to this woman. What is that answer? How is it so inspirational for every one of us? And what happens next? How does the story end? And what is the state of mind of this woman and the old lady is a wonderfully showcased story. Coming to the technical part, the movie is written and directed by Pooja Pandey and Usha Rao. Trushti is a thought-provoking, well-made film, mostly done on a basic camera setup. The only thing that was not really working out with the movie was its editing. Most of the times, the transactions were too disturbing to eye that every time a transaction happened, I was totally disconnected from the mood of the film and had to reconnect to the feel in order to watch this movie. And as this is a quick movie, I really don't see the point why do they have to use such huge transaction effects. After all, it's a quick movie. You could have avoided transactions entirely. A cut to cut would have worked much better than the transactions, that floral transactions, whatever you are given. According to me, I feel that they should have given more close-up space for this old lady. That is where the emotions were working out. That is where the human factor of the audience should get related to or get connected to. Where I think they did not concentrate more on the old lady's expressions. Apart from few points, Trushti is a very nice attempt, and I wish the whole team very best to come up with such a great thought-provoking film. With that, we rate Trushti a 3-star in UD's quickest movie reviews. Coming to the short film category, the very first movie that we are going to review from our review list is Lockdown 4.0 Self-Isolation in Abroad. Posted on Merlin Cinemas, with a screen time of 5 minutes 58 seconds, Lockdown 4.0 Self-Isolation in Abroad is a kind of documentary of the people living abroad and the horrible conditions they are facing during the period of lockdown. It basically showcases a lot of things that are going wrong or that may go wrong in very short time, and how people who have come to live there are struggling to hang on and lead their life. I cannot give you more details of the story because story itself is a montage of a lot of conditions, situations that are happening all around. So it's kind of a news documentary with a little bit of drama added to the subject. Direction, story, screenplay, editing and performed by Mr. Roshan Radhakrishnan. Lockdown self-isolation abroad is a very scary but soon going to be our reality of life. Looking at the present situations. Coming to the camera, to start with, the image or the frames were too jerky and shaky, which I was not convinced. I don't know why he did that. Number 2, the close-ups and the suggestions. Mr. Roshan has used some unusual angles and close-up suggestions which are not making sense. The point of having a close-up is to emphasize that particular subject. But in this case, there was a lot of visual disturbance happening, a lot of shake happening, which clearly missed the point what he wanted to emphasize. I really appreciate the color tone of the film. It really emphasized the movie and also enhanced the flavor of the film. Coming to the end of the movie was too abrupt. I mean, with a screen time of 5 minutes 58 seconds, I think there are a lot of other things that you could have integrated into your film. There are a lot of other situations which were really happening right at the moment. But then he chose to selectively take a bit of very concentrated things. I think that made film look a bit lagged. But then whatever you have focused is really good. And I really hope our friends abroad doesn't have to face any of these things. And I pray God they come back safely out of this situation. Appreciating Mr. Krishnan and hoping to see more of his work here at UD's Quickest Movie Reviews, we rate Lockdown 4.0 a 3-star in our show. The next movie that we are going to review is Onekta Cinema. Onekta Cinema is a Bengali short film hosted on AI Creations, Kolkata. The film is about this writer who is stuck at his home due to lockdown and decides to use his time productively and finish his incomplete or whatever the pending works are. But however, his mind is totally blank and he's stuck in a writer's block, unable to think of what to do next. He's trying to find some inspiration. That is when he gets a call from his producer. The person says that they are going to produce or start a new reality show and they want this writer to write a script for them. As the time is too short, the writer says that he needs more time to come up with the idea. That is when the producer asks him if he can do this or not. If he cannot do it on time, he says he has a lot of other people who can do this for him. In a condition like this, the writer says yes. Once the call gets disconnected, writer is totally frustrated and he calls his girlfriend so that he can share the pain. Unfortunately, his girlfriend disconnects the call. And this really increases his frustration to the next level. And that is when he gets the second call from a second producer. The producer says that he has sent a foreign film link to this writer and expects him to write a script translated in their language. If you are a writer, you will understand the pain when this situation is before you. And if you are not a writer, you probably have no idea how it feels. And therefore, the writer's frustration goes to the peak. That is exactly he gets a call from his girlfriend. When writer receives the call, his girlfriend starts rudely, saying that she is being scolded at her tuition just because writer had called her in a wrong time. And therefore, she also continues saying that his frustration cannot be handled or transferred to her because the cause of his frustration is nothing but his own decisions. She says that he has lost his original content only because he is working for the wrong people and suggests him to come out of that and start writing a new script, where the writer says he cannot do that because he is not having any inspiration anymore. And this situation is getting ugly, so writer disconnects the call. Now, with all the frustration in the world, he decides to cut himself and die, probably. So he lifts a blade, and as he is about to cut his hand, he gets a call from a book publisher. What did the book publisher say? Will that stop this writer from killing himself? How will he get out of it? Will the book publisher offer him a very huge opportunity? All these things are packed very decently in this film. And before you jump into conclusions, that book publisher and the publishing thing, he gets fame and he becomes world's best writer, is not really the plot of the film. So even I was thinking the same thing when I saw that scene, but then it takes a U-turn. I really don't want to give up the story anymore. I want you guys to watch this film, and somewhere I feel that it shows the reality of a writer's struggle. Being a writer, I know how it feels. I want you guys to watch this film and understand a writer's struggle. Written and directed by Mr. Arnab KK and Indrani A. Onekta Cinema with a screen time of 18 minutes 11 seconds is a very intense and smartly made movie. Smartly made movie is because the film is shot in multiple locations by multiple people and got together and stitched in such a fashion that it looks like it is a regular short formatted movie, which it isn't. As the movie is shot on multiple locations by multiple people, the film has a big list of camera team, and here are their names. Mr. Arnab KK, who is also the writer and director of the film, Mr. Kustav Sarkar, Mr. Sandeep Chaudhary, Biwad Haider are the camera team of this film, and who have really done a great job in giving some nice visuals and angles. I really appreciate the whole team and their level of sync that they had taken these scenes in different locations. However, more than camera, I appreciate the editor of the film. Editing done by Mr. Arnab KK, who happens to be our director and camera person, understands how to handle the film. The biggest challenge of Arnab KK was multiple shots taken from multiple locations. What is the problem, you ask? Simple. These multiple location shots, whatever they have taken, most probably are not from same made camera. So initially problem starts when different kind of cameras are used. Number 2, light conditions. Light conditions will definitely differ from location to location. And number 3, the exposure levels. Even when you have communicated your exposure levels to different people, there is a chance when all these shots come together, they cannot match the light differences. So in order to solve all these things in one shot, Arnab chose to desaturate or get this footage to a monochrome. So what happens here is, now Arnab has desaturated every single frame of his film. Almost he has lost all the color, so there is no bother of matching the color. Now all he has to do is match the exposures, brightness and contrast. So 90% of the work is done when he chooses to monochromize his footage. A very brilliant move. In fact, that also increased the intensity of the film and feel of that particular story. So I must say Mr. Arnab KK has smartly edited his film and has given a wonderful visual to us. So I think this is a wonderfully done experiment with efficiently edited and sensibly worked out output. It shows how hard the whole team has worked to get this visual out. I really appreciate that. However, I do have one suggestion for you guys. If you're going to put a subtext, I always suggest you put it on white, because when you are writing your subtext in yellow, it's very hard for people to even understand, or imagine if the internet slows down. Absolutely, you cannot read it. And that is exactly why they put it on white background, white text. However, I would always say use a black see-through bar or something where your text is highlighted. I understood why you used yellow, because your complete movie was monochromized. It doesn't matter, but then if you have a black see-through bar like we use here, you can understand that even with the monochromized background, you can still see that text clearly. Hope you will implement that in your next project. And here in UD's quickest movie reviews, we rate Onekta Cinema a 3.5 star in our show. All the best. The next short film that we are going to review in UD's quickest movie reviews is Delivery 2020. Delivery 2020 is a Hindi short hosted on the Lovely Guy Productions, a YouTube channel. The story is all about these three guys and this girl who happens to be the girlfriend of one of these three guys who are boozing and having some drug. And one of these guys is the room owner, or maybe he is the resident of the room who has organized this party. He also happens to take drugs, illegal drugs, and this is the scenario where the story starts. It so happens that the boyfriend of this girl is so much in love with this girl and he cares a lot about her. That is shown in the film clearly. But the girl is also giving hints to this other guy who is a friend. As these things are going on, the boyfriend orders food online. In the meantime, the girl walks to use washroom. When she comes out, the third guy who the girl was giving hints to is completely drunk and he is standing before this woman and he tried to molest her. As these things go on, suddenly the guy tried to use some force, and in order to resist it, girl tried to push him, and in a reaction the guy pushes her and she hits onto the edge of the wall and she falls down. And when these two other guys come in, they see that the girl is dead. Completely tensed, boyfriend trying to fight with the other guy, and things are getting a bit ugly. That is when this other guy says he thinks that they should call police. But the owner or the resident of that house or the room doesn't want police to come, as he says there are a lot of illegal drugs and a dead body in their room and he doesn't want to get caught into this mess. That is when they hear this doorbell. When he opens the door, he sees this delivery guy, and the delivery guy says he has food order and he has come to deliver it. The owner of this room asks him to wait there. As he says that, the delivery boy observes there is blood on his hand, and this hints him that there is something wrong in the room. So he peeks into the room and he sees this girl's legs, and there are the two guys who are standing there. This clearly gives him an idea of what would have happened there. But smart delivery boy walks out, and once he's gone out, he takes a mobile and he starts calling police. That is when all of a sudden he falls down, and the owner of the room walks with a bat in his hand. Now what happens next? How will the delivery boy escape from them? Will they kill the delivery boy? What will happen next? What is the end of the film? It is basically the plot of this short film. Coming to the technical part, written and directed by lovely guys, and with a screen time of 12 minutes 30 seconds, Delivery is a very lengthy film with too many things that were not taken care of. The story of the film was really good. They could have made some wonderful action thriller in this film. However, the screenplay and the attention to the detail was completely, totally ignored. There were too many unwanted effects added on to this film. For instance, they are partying or boozing in a house. Why did they use this disco light there? It was not necessary. And even if you have done that, for suppose you have a disco light there for some strange reason, then why was it not continuous till the end? At least till the girl is dead. You should have continued it. You had too many different looks for every single cut shot. It should be continuous, isn't it? The story is happening at one place, then how can it change every single time you change a camera? Either you should have used it or completely not used it at all. Well, that was one thing which was, disturbing the viewer's eye. Number 2, almost every single cut shot, every single actor was not having a action continuity. They were not doing the same action in the next shot they have taken. For example, when your hand is like this in close up, and suddenly in cut shot your hand is like this, it doesn't work out. So action continuity was completely ignored in this particular film. And another effect used in this film is the glitch effect. Why would a comedy scene or comedy sequence have the glitch? That was the only actor who was giving some expressions, and because of this glitch effect, I could not even understand if he's sad, he's being funny, or he wants to do something. There was absolutely no thought behind this glitch. And number 4, the prosthetics. When you use blood, I know you cannot use real blood, but then you have to get something as close as it is possible. Even with very good color correction, the thing whatever you have used for blood doesn't match 1% how blood looks. There are a million YouTube tutorials how to prepare fake blood. You could have used that. If not, I personally use some Kisan ketchup, that red chili ketchup or whatever it is, tomato ketchup. You could have used it. It looks at least a bit like blood. If not that, personally, I'm just giving you my idea how I create blood in my sets. We use this maroon kumkum and glycerin, mix it together, it looks absolutely like blood. You should have done a little bit of R&D. You would have got perfect blood, because your concept is based on murder, blood, and a lot of this blood related things. You should have at least did your R&D on creating blip. Coming to the next biggest drawback of the film, that is sound. I see there is absolutely no sync of the characters and the sound or the dialogues. I appreciate Mr. NMD Imran who did camera for this film. I personally think the camera work was good, but because of some unusually disturbing effects and the light technique, camera work was not really that notable in this film. Though I must say, I really liked few angles and I really like the level of stability of the camera had. I must say, by the end of the film, that is the climax, there are a lot of out focuses, which was, I don't know if they were intentional. If they were intentional, then I think they never worked. It never worked because that level of emotion, a guy who is escaped from such a lot of trouble, I don't think that is how out focus works. I'm sure Mr. Imran can make much better visuals, much appealing visuals if he works on his light and focus techniques. At the end of the day, I think Delivery is a very good story. I am sure that the whole team has worked very hard to make this movie. But my dear friends, hard work without the right technical skills will not work out. I wish them all the best and suggest them to work a bit more on their skills and also start working on some kind of workshops with your actors so that they can understand these characters much better and maybe you can portray it in much convincing fashion. I appreciate all the team's spirit and hard work, and here at UD's Quickest Movie Reviews we rate Delivery 2020 at 2.5 star in our show. All the best. Our next short film that we are going to review in UD's Quickest Movie Reviews is Boyhood. Boyhood is a very powerful Malayalam social reviewing short film posted on Team Django Space YouTube channel. With a screen time of 22 minutes 7 seconds, Boyhood is one of those powerful films that showcase one of the most dirty faces of society. The story starts with this young man browsing his Facebook wall and comes across a lady's Facebook post where she is explaining the abuse she has to go through her entire life. Further, the young man also looks at some posts related to this and also about the most famous moment of our times, that is Me Too movement. Looking at all these things, the person starts recalling his own life and the abuse he has to go through. Who is this young man? What happened with him? And how is his story related to the posts that are posted by these women is the most intense and thought-provoking factors of this film and how it ends. As much as I must say I love this film, but also frankly I should accept that the film really disturbed my mind to the core. And I would like to give you a statutory warning. If you cannot accept the reality of society and have guts to accept that we are living in this society, please do not watch this movie. But then, if you really want to see the truth, this is absolute truth that the filmmaker spoke about. And with that note, I'll let you be the judge to watch this movie or not. Coming to the technical part, written and directed by Mr. Rameez Bashir, Boyhood is a very serious and very bold attempt to showcase the ugliness of this society. And also, I must say, this is a very new prospect of looking at the respective issue. Frankly, I must say the maker has really worked very hard in writing and composing the visual, and I must say he has done a fabulous job. The camera is handled by Mr. Balamullakrishnan and editing and DI is done by Leone Verghese. They have given their soul to this film, and it looks nothing less than any kind of mainstream cinema you see on screen. Lovely camera angles, smooth transitions, and absolutely brilliant editing makes this film so intense that you will never feel the film is lengthy. More than anything, I think Boyhood is one of the best scripts and very nicely composed subjective and brilliantly made film. I wish to see more such challenging, bold subjects from this team and I wish them all the best. And with that, we at UD's Quickest Movie Reviews rate Boyhood a 4.5 star in our show. All the best. After watching such an intense film, what is that I have to watch to divert my mind? Because subjects like Boyhood will haunt you for a very long time. And after watching Boyhood, I was struggling to get back to normal as I had to review other movies. Maybe that is one of the reasons why this episode got late. And then I watched this. The next movie that we are going to review is Decades Apart. Decades Apart is a fantasy time travel related short film hosted on Andrew D. Padro YouTube channel. The story basically starts in 1950. During 1950, to the young generation who doesn't know what telephone booth is, they were these small square booths where you had one phone and you put a coin and you can dial to the desired number and you can talk. So our story begins in one of those telephone booths where this lady has come to call her mother. And when she calls, the call lands to one of the landlines that a young boy receives. As they speak, both understand that they are speaking with someone who are not from their own timeline. I mean, there is this phenomenon that is happening that somehow the call is landed to future and the guy is from 2000 plus some years, maybe 2018 or so. Now at the beginning they start quarreling, or maybe they don't start quite well because each of them think that the other is making a prank. But then soon she will understand that she is speaking to a boy who is from the future. She tries to understand future, how it is. And the boy at the same time is also trying to understand how this woman is from the past, what is happening there, whatever it is. Within a very short time they become very close. Now they understand the lifestyles and stuff, they exchange their ideas and stuff, and then now they start exchanging their personal lives. This is when they get very close to each other. The problems of the girl, the guy from the future tells his problems. They're very close, and this is exactly the time when the woman says that she has not enough money to continue this call, and once this call ends, there are no ways that they are going to talk. Now the guy says keep the phone going, and he thinks that he can at least see her once. She accepts for that. Now what happens next? Will he see her? If so, how? And what will happen when he sees her? This is a very beautiful story, and I'm sure you would love to see it personally, because it's not about time travel we are talking about. It is exchange of their emotions that really makes this movie so unique and really heart touching. Coming to the technical part, written by Mr. Andrew D. Patro and Gilbert T. Lamberg and directed by Andrew D. Patro, Decades Apart is a wonderful thought. I personally think that there were few points which were not properly thought of. For instance, the ending. The logic applied in the ending is not possible. However, I personally think that there were few points which were not properly thought of. For example, ending. Ending was so beautiful that the makers forgot the logic. I'm sure if you would have seen about the logic, the ending wouldn't have been so beautiful. Coming to the visuals of the film. Charlotte Ecker is the DOP of the film and did a decent job in capturing the film and the frame. However, see, there is a constant shake in the camera which really was a bit disappointing. Edited by Mr. Brett, Decades Away is really a very wonderfully edited film. I really love the color toning, those smooth transitions and lovely cuts made this movie really wonderful to watch. And when it comes to Decades Away, I should specially mention the costume designer, the makeup artist and the set designers. They did a fabulous job that really makes you wonder that if this is a short film or a real mainstream film altogether. The attention detail was wonderfully done. The phone booth and the location is absolutely terrific. I congratulate the whole team, such a great output. Hoping to see more of this wonderful films from this wonderful team. We at UD's Quickest Movie Reviews rate Decades Away a 4-star in our show. Moving on to the next film that we are going to review is The Battle at Home. The Battle at Home is a patriotic montage of a soldier's life and is hosted on John DeStefano Jr. YouTube channel. The story basically starts with this young American soldier in pursuit of this suicide bomber in a very remote location. Simultaneously, as this pursuit is happening, we also see a lot of other situations or times of his life. For an instance, he is in some kind of affair and he wants to talk to this girl. Or for instance, he is in a stadium and he is trying to hit a baseball. A lot of different montages of his life. But when you see it, you'll understand the different situations of his life are his struggle towards getting a success. So our story is a visual montage of this soldier's life and his struggles, having the same essence and efforts that he has to give in order to get success, and how all these things end is a wonderful visual that is composed in such a fashion that there is a very thin line of story, but then when you watch this film, I'm sure most of your eyes would be filled with tears. At this point, I really cannot narrate you the story because the story is mainly based on the visuals and wonderful performance given by this actor. Now coming to the technical part, written by John DeStefano Jr. and Andrew Donato, directed by John DeStefano Jr., The Battle from Home is really a very emotional and patriotic story. The script is well made and a very gripping screenplay that I have seen in recent times. As I told earlier, the movie is mainly based on the visuals. I think most of the credit should be given to the cinematographer of the film. And the cinematographer of the film is Mr. Matt Mahoney, who has given an unbelievable, mind-blowing visuals. I really appreciate the low light and those war sequences. But then, movie is not wonderful only because of the screenplay and the cinematography. It is the editor who did his magic in the film. The editing was so wonderfully done. The transactions were so absolutely apt. It really blew my mind off. But unfortunately, I don't understand why there was no credit given to the editor. I could not find who the editor is. But then, whoever he is, his work has spoken a million words. I personally love this film and really enjoyed watching it and reviewing it. Appreciating the whole team, we here at UD's Quickest Movie Reviews rate The Battle at Home a 4-star in our show. Now that brings us to the last movie of the episode, and the movie that we are going to review is Story of the Lockdown 2020. Story of the Lockdown 2020, which is hosted on Akshat Anand YouTube channel. The story basically is about these two friends. The story basically is about the lockdown period. There are these two friends who are stuck in lockdown and are very bored and waiting for the lockdown to end. On one fine day, one friend calls another friend and says, even when lockdown is not completely off, they can still go roam around. And they both decides to go roam around and come back. And they have a huge fun also. And suddenly the other friend calls the first friend and he constantly asks for forgiveness. When asked, the fellow says that there were some guests who were in his house for a couple of days and who were in his room, and now he is tested positive, and says it might have come to the other fellow also. The gist of the story is to be careful during the lockdown and COVID can spread easily. Written by Mr. Akshat Anand and directed by Anshuman Aditya, the story of the lockdown was really thought-provoking and really good. But when it comes to screenplay, it was damn slow. There were too many Bollywood film songs, really loud expressions and unrealistic and unrelatable dialogues, and a very long screen time makes your audience totally disconnected from this film. And when this happens, what is the problem? The problem is your audience won't be able to sit back, watch this film till the end where absolute message is delivered. And when that happens, there is no point of you making this film, because your film is supposed to be educating the people who are watching it. And when they don't see your message at all, what are you educating them about? Mr. Shaurya Nachiket, who is the DOP of the film, did a very decent job, and I really love those shots you are taken in the complete dark where these guys are sitting and trying to, dramatize the particular situation. I really appreciate those shots. I really appreciate the angles he chose. They were very good. Editing is done by Mr. Akshat Anand, which is very decent. I really like the split screens and the phone conversations and the timing between the phone conversations that he has maintained. I really suggest the makers to take care of the sound and the sync, because most of the times I see there was no sync between lip and the sound. At the end of the day, I see they have given a social message in a very fun way possible. But then I think a very long screen time is a drawback. I'm sure they could have avoided it. With that note, we at UD's Quickest Movie Reviews rate Lockdown a 3-star in our show. All the best. So that brings us to the last part of our show, guys. I think you have enjoyed all our reviews, and we have all these movie links in our description below. You can always watch them and let us know how you feel and what is your rating for these movies. Do write to us your comments and suggestions in the below comment box, and don't forget to like, share, subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you can keep all updates on time. And with that note, this is me, Udai, signing off till the next episode. Namaskar.